So you fight about more than one issue at a time. You know the drill. You start out with a disagreement about your next vacation, and you wind up in a fight about how you don't spend enough quality time together. Unfortunately, this bad habit prevents you and your partner from ever getting to the root of the issue. Okay, so how do we solve that? The fix, clearly and understandably, stay on topic and address separate issues later. When we fight or argue or have a disagreement, we need to fight about one thing at a time. We need to stay on topic. And the best way to ensure that this happens is to call out whenever the conversation starts to potentially veer off. Call it out, talk about it. If a different issue keeps coming up, set aside an absolutely separate time to talk about it. Once you resolve the first issue, you can address a new one in a different conversation. You can think about this in like a work context or a sports context. You want to think about when. What's important now? Like Stephen Covey says, you want to finish your most important task first. And that's the same thing here. Follow this through. Finish the thing that you're talking about. Now, sometimes what we're fighting about, the cause is something totally different. And maybe we're getting to that path. Maybe we're getting to that path so we can figure out the root cause to solve the current issue. But if you're talking about one thing, keep the main thing. What's important now? Because we're trying to win, which means we're trying to come together as two people to see each other's point of view, to understand, to have curiosity about the other's opinion or the other's spot or how the other feels. And we're keeping the main thing, and we're following all the way through with the initial conversation and then potentially moving on to the next one. So that's number one. That's the fix for that. Number two, here's bad habit number two. You use language that places blame on the other person. When you're feeling angry or upset, it's easy to point fingers and say things like, you do this or you do that. Phrases that inevitably put your partner on the defensive. Soon enough, instead of a healthy, constructive conversation, your disagreement will devolve into a blame game, and that's neither helpful nor productive. What's the fix? The fix is use I statements to express how you feel. Instead of using language that places the blame on your partner, reframe the conversation to how behavior specifically impacts you. An easy way to do that is to use I statements. For example, instead of saying, you make me angry because you don't listen, you can say, I feel upset because I don't feel heard right now. Make sure you're not simply tacking the words I feel onto every sentence. We know that's not good. These can often be you statements in disguise. Instead, follow the words I feel with an actual emotion, that you're experiencing, whether that's frustration, anger, disappointment, or something else. So the fix really is to take full responsibility and ownership. Like Jocko says, we're not blaming anyone. We're not saying you do this or you do that. You're saying sometimes it potentially makes me feel this way, angry, frustrated, disappointed when this happens. I feel upset because I don't feel heard right now. Using I statements, taking full responsibility and ownership over what's going on, not blaming others, but trying to come to a mutual understanding, a mutual agreement to have a constructive conversation about the issue at hand.